So when did you figure it out? Like that you wanted to channel all this into comedy then?
Well, I was 25 and I had to bottom out first, which is another thing Gary Vee, I don't know that Gary Vee may say this to people. I think Gary Vee does I'd love to go on his podcast and kind of talk to him about this and be like, because he would open my eyes up to some things too. And he'd be like, if he'd be like, if my thing only helps like 20 people, then who's to say they're not going to start Disney? And I'm like, whatever. And then I'm like, yeah, that's right. I mean, Disney does fuck a lot of kids, but I mean, Splash Mountain's fun. So I get it. And, you know, the Mickey Waffles, but I get what he's saying. I had to bottom out. I guess he does. I think he does do this. I think he does go on the route of like, you're not failing enough. I think a lot of these guys do that. Tell people they're not failing enough.
Well, that's a good way to have people buy into. Like, I fail all the time. Yeah, I'm on the right path.
It's great, but I think what you got to tell people is just like, you kind of got to bottom out, or you got to hit a wall, and then you got like I hit a wall when I was 25 years old. I hit a wall where I was drinking every night. I was working at a job that really no longer existed. I was trying to sell like mortgages in 2009 after the financial crisis. Jesus Christ. Like post-crisis, I was trying to sell mortgages. It's insane, right? Yeah. It made no sense. And I was with a group of people we were all sitting in an office that was decrepit, and there were fruit flies and leaks from the ceiling, and it was a windowless office in Long Island on Broad Hollow Road, and all of the mortgage guys had left. Like, it was like life after people. Like, essentially, like there was like almost tumbleweeds blowing through the parking lot because all the Porsches and Maseratis and BMWs, they'd all either been repossessed or they drove them somewhere else, you know? These people were all gone, and it was like my friend's old Chevy and like me with my Suburban that I couldn't afford to put gas in.
Right.
And I was in a bad job, and I was drinking a lot, and then I got a summons to be a juror on a trial. And I looked at the summons, and I was like, okay, this might be interesting. I knew immediately that it might be like a weirdly pivotal event. I can't explain how. I just looked at the thing and I'm like, this might be fucking weird. And I got to the courthouse, and my friend, by the way, my friend Ryan, who I love to death, was driving me to the thing, and we both had we were directionless. 25 years old, Long Island directionless, which meant we're having a great time. We're having a great time. Being white and directionless in Long Island is fun. Smoking weed, boozing, eating at a corporate steakhouse whenever we wanted. He would steal money from his parents, and we would go, I would steal. Like, we were thieves. We'd just take things. Who cares? You don't need it. It's mine now. And not even like we were heroin addicts. Like, he would just take $100 off the mantle, and we'd go have a ribeye with it. His mother would be like, I left 100 on the mantle. We'd be like, what?
No.
And I would just have whatever money that I had, because I had bought a house when I was 22.
Oh, right.
And everybody that's listened to the show knows this, and a lot of people know this, but I had stopped making mortgage payments because not only couldn't I make them, but it didn't even make sense. Like, the house had lost 50% of its value in the last 2 years. So it would be crazy to keep making them. But, so here's the deal, right? I'm living rent-free. So I'm not making mortgage payments. So I'm living rent-free. And my buddy, so we're just eating at Vincent's Clam Bar. Things are okay. And I don't mean okay. I mean, our life is beating the shit out of us, but you'd never know. You'd never know. And that's why I think I was able to do comedy, because like, for a while, when comedy's throwing dirt in your face, you have to just kind of walk around like, hey, things are good.
It's good.
Things are good.
I like
it's good.
Dirt.
Things are good. How are things? They're good. They're good. Oh, this dirt? Oh, nothing.
I love dirt.
I love dirt. I'm sleeping in a fucking, in a garbage pile as it bit. But when he dropped me off, he goes, good luck. It was the craziest thing, because he knew I wanted to get jury duty. Because I was like, I think this might be fun to do. He's like, yeah, dude. Because again, you have to understand what being directionless means. We had no direction. We didn't know where we were going. Nobody knew which way we were going. So like, the idea of jury duty is like, this is new. Most people dread it. They want to get out of it. We're like, could be fun.
New experience.
Could be fun.
Yeah.
I show up and I see like there's news vans outside of the courthouse.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is interesting. I thought it was going to be like some guy, like Long Island jury duty is usually like some old Jewish woman fell in a Wendy's. She wants 150K. Wendy's wants to give her 80 because she was drunk. Something like that.
It's a give and take, yeah.
Something in that realm of, you know, I get there and they're like, this is a trial for murder, torture, rape. Immediately, I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited immediately because you're like, this number one, cool. Like, let's be very honest. Cool. It's a cool thing that someone was murdered and tortured and raped. But by the way, they didn't get a conviction of rape.
Allegedly, right?
Allegedly. But here's what's cool about it. Here's what's cool about it. Not that it happened. Not that it happened. What's cool about it is I get to now go undercover and figure it all out. I'm the detective now if I get selected. So I walked in and I found out later that I was a defense pick, like the defense wanted me, which means they looked at me and were like, he'll understand torture. That's literally.
Hell, he's probably done it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They look at me and they're like, look at that guy's face. He understands extenuating circumstances. He gets that sometimes things need to be done, and they weren't wrong. At that point in my life, I was a 25-year-old degenerate alcoholic with a foreclosed house in Long Island. I knew that sometimes you had to carve a bitch up. I was in the closet. I hadn't come out of the closet yet. I was still occasionally trying to date like Long Island women, like you know, like that were men. I mean, Long Island women, a certain level of Long Island Italian woman is a dude. It's like literally a guy. It just becomes a guy. Like it's like, hey, we'll die. Like,
well, you don't wanna
they
fuck
go
with
from like here to like here, and then it drops a little. It's like God. But so I was like, so I knew going in, I'm like, my license, and this is how great Long Island is. My license is currently suspended. It's like currently suspended. It's been suspended like over 20 times. I legally couldn't even drive to the court. That's why I had my friend drop me off, because I'm like, I can't get pulled over driving to the court. So I'm a criminal who's coming in for jury duty.
To decide the fate of someone else.
To decide the fate of this guy. And so they say to me, so I'm like, number one, I can't look too eager, because then they're not going to want me. So and by the way, this is advice to any of you that maybe want jury duty. This is advice as to how to get it. And only get it if it's something good, like torture. You know? So jury duty, you can't look too eager. You have to roll your eyes. You have to be like, oh, fuck, I can't believe this, whatever. So the prosecutor said to me, she goes, Mr. Dillon, your license has been suspended a bunch. I'm sure you hate the police. You don't like them. And I said, no. I hate myself for being irresponsible, not paying those tickets.
Wow.
Boom.
Great answer.
She sits down. The defense attorney gets up, this lady who wore like, you know, Miss Frizzle in the Magic School Bus? Yeah. She wore those outfits and crazy jewelry. And later someone said that's to distract the jury. And I was like, that's kind of brilliant. Like sometimes like she's like she just wears crazy shit to court because like they said one lawyer back old school when you could still smoke in courtrooms would smoke a cigar and he had a wire going so the ash never fell off. So the jury would look at his cigar as he was smoking it down, just wondering when the ash was going to fall off.
Right.
And fucking they wouldn't hear anything the other guy said. Yeah. So I was like, this is brilliant. So maybe this bitch is doing this on purpose because she's dressed like a literal clown, right? She gets up. She's like, Mr. Dillon, murder, torture, rape. How can you be impartial when you hear words like this? And I was like, and she gave me a pretty easy one because she wanted me, I think, to be a juror. But I was like, they're just words. They're literally just words. I have not seen one shred of evidence. They're only words. And I was like, words mean nothing. And she was like, oh, great. And I knew when I said words mean nothing, I'm like, oh, he probably threatened this bitch 1,000,000 times. And she's going to love that I said words mean nothing. Because the defense is going to be like, oh, great. If he believes words mean nothing, he's going to be able to excuse all of these threats.
These verbal assaults.
All of these verbal assaults that have been documented by countless witnesses.
Now, when you're saying this stuff, is it like having a good set? Do you know you're like, damn, I'm crushing?
Yeah, I know I'm doing good, and I know I need to get this, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
This is what Gary Vee can't tell you. Gary Vee can't be like, wait till someone's tortured, get on jury duty. Like, this is how I had, you know. So you have these moments in life organically. You can't plan them out. You don't get them if Ty Lopez tells you to. Now, I'm not saying you have to get them through a murder, torture, rape trial, but there's worse ways to do it.
And it certainly helps.
It certainly helps. You know, and then we did the whole, and then when my friend picked me up, I was like, I got it, man. He's like, I knew you would. It was like an audition. He's like, I knew you would.
Guess who's going to jury duty,
and
baby?
That trial was just this 2-week intense, week and a half, intense, like, meditation on mortality. Like the idea that every day you were hearing about somebody whose life was taken and somebody whose life we convicted him, life plus 50 years, no parole, because he was literally guilty. So, I mean, really guilty. You know, I don't really know. I didn't listen that much, but it seemed bad. He had weird eyes. No, he was seriously. I listened to everything. I was into it. He was so guilty. I thought the next thing was gonna be like, and now here's the YouTube clip of the crime. Like, that's how bad it was. Yeah. But during this whole thing, I was like looking at the ADA, who's now like the DA or the Congress. Well, I forget what she is now. Mm. But she was really good at her job, so good at her fucking job that, you know, you were like, this is exactly what she's meant to do. She's meant to do this, you know? Mm. She was the head of the special victims unit. And I was like, I'm not meant to sell mortgages in a strip mall in Long Island. Like, I'm just not meant to be. It was not a strip mall. It was an office building, whatever. I was like, I got to not do that. You know, I got to figure out a way not to do that. And I think I started comedy that was in the spring, that trial. And I started comedy in the fall, late August. And I had one more summer of drinking in me. I had one more summer, still didn't get it, had to like, my friend's father and me had to get in 2 boating accidents that summer. I mean, I still was being beaten into my head. But by the time that summer,
right? The rape trial wasn't enough.
Yeah, like, I mean, this guy was a cool guy. He was so cool. When you get into 2 boating accidents with someone, they're fun. Yeah. They're fun. To get back on a boat with someone you got into an accident with means they're fun. But at the end of that, I was like, okay, it's time to change, because sometimes you just got to get something out of your system. You got to get being a loser out of your system. Right. And being a loser is fun. No one will admit like that being a loser has its benefits. Yeah. And actually starting to not be a loser can suck. And then you have to worry about like, oh God, now I got to stay not a loser, right? Right. Obviously you don't want to be a loser, but like, and then people would look back and be like, "Oh, you were never a loser." I'm like, "Yeah, I was. I was an absolute like I had lost everything, and I was like, I was the definition of lose. Like, right. But sometimes you just got to get that shit out of your system before you can go. And unfortunately, sometimes that kills you. Right. Sometimes that kills you. Sometimes the things you have to do to get being a loser out of your system kill you. So it's unfortunate. You know, if you need, go get a potato and put a Marlboro Light in its mouth and watch that and then press play on your phone.